So this is my mirror on the back of a Seahawk 35. I bought her second hand a couple of years ago, and she'd clearly been refurbished thoroughly by somebody who knew what they were doing a few years ago. But she picked up a few leaks and cracks, and it was time to give her a bit of TLC. In my haste, I didn't record the massive amount of sanding and yellow dust generated as I sanded back the original 2-pack paint. Covered it with masonry paint, which expands and contracts and can take a few knocks. Not as good as 2-pack, but about 20 times cheaper. Somebody had managed to put their foot through the foredeck, so I added a couple of panels to strengthen it. And the whole thing was getting sanded and waterproofed. Not a bad finish. This is us going for a sail at Emsworth, Bart's Bash, with my daughter. We even got the spinnaker up, although some of the rope work still needs sorting out, and we've got no pole as yet. So this is a Mark II Mirror Dinghy, wooden of course, but they're good little sailing boats, and I got it because it's small enough to lug around without getting a hernia and big enough to fit 2 or 3 people on board. I'm wetting down the pavement to try and reduce the dust because I've got some painting to do shortly. So I think she was 1976. You can look up according to the sail number on the Mirror Class Association. No guarantee that the sail matches the boat, and I couldn't find any other markings on the boat, but that seems about right to me. And you can tell the Mark II because they don't have the as many supports holding the gunwale, but it does have the inner horizontal strip on the gunwale and the cubby holes. So it seems like the Mark II to me rather than the Mark I. These foredeck panels are there to strengthen because somebody put their foot through. These boats are built quite lightly, and I'm going to have kids tramping all over on here. And this white stuff is a mistake really. I should have used a darker filler, but at least it will stop water pooling in the cracks and rotting. So I've glued something instead, again with epoxy and filler. Your sander for this job is supposed to give a smoother finish, and I'm using 80 to 120 grit paper to key as much as anything. You need to key, otherwise you'll just find it flakes off. You'll see me doing some epoxy work, but mainly varnishing on top of the epoxy once it's set. If you don't do that, then the epoxy breaks down in the UV light over time. So having sanded this down, I will then add a layer or 2 of epoxy resin, and then at least 2 coats of epiphlane varnish, which has a good marine defense against salt and UV. This is me mixing my epoxy resin. I use syringes, it's easier, and I can get a good accurate 2-to-1 mix. This is the tape that I'm going to dab down over the crack. So before I put the tape down, I put a wet layer of epoxy resin. Then I put the tape on top. The idea is to have enough epoxy to impregnate the tape and make it stick and be see-through, but not too much. It's actually a weaker bond if it's sort of overloaded with epoxy resin. Don't worry about any loose threads like this, they will sand out once it's set dry. So you want to get any bubbles out. One of the reasons that I put filler on before was so that any little voids in the crack were filled. Any voids that are left behind tend to invite water that gets in and then creates further problems down the line. So this is its set, and I'm in the process of now, having let it dry for 24 hours, sanding it. So I've got rid of any sort of loose bits and gradients to the edge, so you can hardly see it when it's finished. It looks white now, but it will go see-through. So this is the finished article. I'll put some layers of varnish on top, but that's a strong bond there. So I'm doing the same thing here. You can see a split on the aft watertight bulkhead, which I've sanded back, and then, as you've just seen, added epoxy resin and a layer of tape, which I've then sanded back, and added another layer of epoxy on top of the sanded tape. Having epoxied and repaired and filled, I'm now using white spirit to degrease and thoroughly make sure there's no dust or sand, and then I'm using varnish, marine varnish, Epipane it's called, and it's really good. Theoretically you don't have to sand between coats, but I tend to just do a very quick sand to knock off any sort of bugs and bits of grit that I've got in there, and try and get as smooth as finish as possible. But it is important to dust, de-dust and degrease, otherwise you're creating a pore seal and water gets in and it just all flakes off. Having done a few boats now, this is the point at which you often find the rot sets in, so I'm working really hard to make sure that these gunnels are properly sealed, and if the boat's left to sit, it doesn't end up getting water in there that then seeps down and rots the wood. So she needs another couple of coats, but she's not looking too bad, and she's certainly sealed and watertight. The white tape on the deck is just to alert me that I've epoxied and the epoxy is still setting, so I'm not letting it mix. I'll do another coat over the top once it's set properly.
Just let
So this is my first attempt at dinghy rigging. You can see on the right is the original, rusted badly, so it needed doing. I used 2.5mm galvanised steel wire with a plastic coat. This I just got from B&Q, hardware store. These aluminium ferrules worked very well. They were slightly oversized and my clamp was of the cheapest, most basic type, so I used 2 per fitting, but they seem to be very strong. Okay, it's downhill from here. Time to reassemble everything.
You the most. I need you the most. Where are you now that I need you? Where are you now that I need you? my smile for the connection, love I can't take no more. Ooh, all the chemistry's working for the bad guys that I keep voting for. I'm coming for you, no reason tonight to feel blue. Calling to you was the right thing to do. It's like I'm losing my mind, cause your body's so fine. No say to you, I need no other view. You're my soulmate for the night. Calling to you was the right thing to do. It's like I'm losing my mind, cause your body's so fine. No say to you, I need no other view. You're my soulmate for the night. Put your arms on my shoulders, we don't care what they say. Yeah, feel my emotion, I'll catch your devotion. Let's play the game my way. Yeah, Calling to you was the right thing to do. It's like I'm losing my mind, cause your body's so fine. No say to you, I need no other view. You're my soulmate for the night. My soulmate, my soulmate for the night. My soulmate, my soulmate for the night. For the night, for the night, for the night. For the night, for the night, my soulmate for the night. My soulmate. My soulmate. My soulmate. My soulmate. My soulmate for the night. I see you walking around my way, so easing into your